Hello, hello, hello. This is Tamika Peters, President and CEO of Grow Your Nonprofit, where we help startups, small and stagnant nonprofits grow through fundraising strategies, strategic planning, and so much more. Guys, today you're in for a treat. I have my special guest here, Joshua. He is with the Lee County Housing Authority. He will give you insights on how to partner with this agency to make an impact in the community. But before we get started, I'd like to thank the sponsors of my podcast. Hodges University with a campus in Fort Myers. Stay near, go far. They change lives for the better. Trinity Life Foundation Naples, helping at-risk youth through their enrichment programs. AVID, that stands for the Associations of Haitians Living Abroad. They open an amazing support center in Fort Myers where they help people with immigration support, utility billing, English as a second language, and so many programs are added on an ongoing basis. Last but not least, Vaxtruth. They received a grant from the CDC to raise awareness of COVID-19 and vaccine resources in the Black and Brown communities. So like I said, my special guest here, Joshua. How are you doing, Joshua?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, meaning where you're from, how do you get to Fort Myers, and what you do in your current position at the Housing Authority.
Sure, happy to. So my name is Joshua McKie. I am the Director of Community Supportive Services at the Housing Authority, City of Fort Myers. So I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. It's where I grew up. I was born in Georgia. So I like to say I'm kind of from both, but I definitely think I found myself in St. Louis. It's where I kind of had my, adolescence and everything. And I wound up in Florida after I graduated high school. My parents just kind of wanted to change the scenery because a lot was happening in St. Louis. So they decided to move to Jacksonville, Florida. Okay. And I lived there for about a year and then came here in Fort Myers for school. I graduated from Florida Gulf Coast University.
Oh, really? That is so cool. That is so cool. I really love FGCU because I've seen it evolve over the years. I've been here for 20 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles. Okay. So I lived in Naples for 15 years and been in Fort Myers for about 5 years. And I remember when FGCU, they didn't have any sports teams and they just grew. And then I would say about 2 or 3 months ago, I got a chance to visit their entrepreneurial school. And I was so impressed as to the programs they have and just what they're doing in the community. So I'm so happy to learn because I know that's one of their initiatives to keep the talent here after they're educated, to get them right into the workforce, because it's really a tragedy to have them educated here and then go use that talent somewhere else. Absolutely. So that's really important. So what exactly do you do? What does that mean? Director at the Housing Authority?
So that's a good question. It's a loaded question. So I'm really good at this. It's like an elevator
speech. Of course you are.
Because I get that question often. So part of what I do is I manage grant programs. Okay. So housing authorities across the country actually have robust resident services because HUD releases a lot of grants to help families in low-income housing. Yeah. So some of the grant programs that we have, one of them is called Family Self-Sufficiency. Okay. That's actually how I got my start at the Housing Authority. That was my first position. I was a coordinator, and essentially in that program, we provide resources, case management, financial literacy to assist families in achieving self-sufficiency. Okay. Whatever that looks like to them. Okay. So I was just about to ask, what is that? Yeah. Right. So that could be home ownership, that could be just having gainful employment. It's really up to the families to decide kind of what their goals are. And then as a coordinator, you just make sure that they have resources and, kind of remove the barriers to get there. So that's one program that we have. Another program we have is called Jobs Plus. So that is a grant that's awarded to housing authorities for a 4-year time frame. And the goal is just to saturate the community with employment and career services. Wow. So we partner with Career Source on that grant. We partner with the School District of Lee County. We partner with other business entities and employers to make sure that we have bridges to gainful employment for the residents. And those programs actually have rent incentives. To where if families increase their income from being employed or having their own business, they actually have money set aside for them that they get in completion of the program, or they have that income disregarded from their rent calculation. Wow. So even though they're making, say, $3,000 a month, the rent should be $1,000, they may only be paying like $200. Wow. Some zero. So it really helps families kind of achieve and build equity.
Yeah, that's really important. So okay, so I'm confused because you say you're the Housing Authority, but the programs you mentioned, they're very empowering and beyond and just housing, because you mentioned financial literacy and self-sustainability, what that looks like for them, and so much more. Did it start off as just housing, and then it kind of just grew based upon the expressed needs of the participants that you serve?
Absolutely. So I want to say, family self-sufficiency, and don't quote me on this, but to my understanding, part of that program was developed through I think it's the Bootstrap Initiative of 1996, where they wanted to have opportunities for families to build equity. Because low-income housing, started back in the 1930s, and it was designed to help families kind of utilize a lower rent to achieve home ownership.
Right.
But as we know, through redlining, discrimination, and things like that, it was not a fair playing field.
Right.
And that's kind of why we see some of the things that we see today.
Right.
So HUD realized this and started to, advocate, and social workers advocated to have sufficiency programs to really make it, that service to have for time period and then to move forward.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that, because I don't know if I read something or I saw a documentary or something on YouTube about that very thing, that it was affordable housing was originally created for like the middle class people to get them into home ownership, but then it was blocked for other people such as African Americans. They were denied that, and just how the program has evolved over the years. And it's funny that you mentioned affordable housing. For me, my definition of affordable housing is home ownership.
Right.
Because I was previously married before, and after my divorce, I left my house and I was renting. That's when I lived in Naples, and then part of the reason why I left Naples, every year my rent would go up so much, so I said, well, I could be paying a mortgage. So when I was so blessed that I was in a position where I was able to purchase a home on my own, I was just looking at what I could afford for my budget. I just got more in Lee County versus Collier County.
Right.
And that was that was the way I can control my rent, if you will, by purchasing the home. Absolutely. Because who knows what my rent would be now. And since I purchased my home in 2016, my rent, or mortgage, if you will, stayed the same.
Exactly.
It's the same.
And it is one thing about affordable housing. So there's different programs. You have public housing, you have Section 8, you have low-income tax credit housing, all these different programs. But the idea is that it's subsidized in a way where your rent payment is 30% of your income, whatever your income is. So that no matter, what the rent payment is, it's still suitable to you, and you're able to, live, accordingly.
Right. And I know everything in life, for me, I'm not speaking for yourself, comes down to mindset. You have to want to be a homeowner, or you're going to have to want to go back to school to educate yourself. You have to want it, because in these times there's so many resources out there. You have the down payment assistance program. There are even programs where there's no down payment. I know there's a new program that's opened up to everyone, the Hometown Heroes. That's new, where they would help you with down payment assistance. So you kind of, if you want it, you got to go for it. Like everything that I want in life, I go for it. It may not happen within the time frame that I want it to happen, but it happens.
Right. And I think it's definitely also having access and knowing,
what resources are available.
Like, we are constantly promoting our programs, because a lot of families don't know about the programs that we have. Even, staff, we kind of had to remind them what the programs actually are. Because it's not always advertised. It's not something that's as popular.
Why wouldn't we get marketing ads and blast it on TV? Everyone's on social media. Put it on social media, because that's where your target audience is.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that we're working on. We're working with the marketing company to try to make sure that, the information is out there, because we don't want it to be like, HUD's best kept secret. We want it to be one of the frontline programs that HUD has to offer.
Right. Another great audience are the churches, because people listen to their preachers, and that's another great place to get that information out there. So you mentioned your quasi-government nonprofit organization. What does that mean?
So essentially it means that We are funded through the government, but we are a nonprofit.
Okay.
So the majority of our funds come directly from Housing and Urban Development through Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So they provide the grants for us to provide subsidy, for us to have grant programs like FSS and have employees.
FSS, no acronyms. No acronyms.
No acronyms? Okay.
No acronyms,
Family
Joshua.
self-sufficiency.
Thank you, Joshua.
Yes. So we are essentially a nonprofit. We're affiliated with the government, but we're not government employees, if that makes sense.
Okay. So we bring on a lot of nonprofits on the Grow Your Nonprofit podcast. So you're different because you're quasi-government / nonprofit. So do you have donors? Like, what's the difference of, say, I don't want to say typical nonprofit, but I have to say a typical nonprofit and a quasi-government nonprofit?
So I guess the big difference is, so we do have donors when it comes to like some of our initiatives, like redevelopment, for instance. So we have to raise money to provide redevelopment because HUD is not going to pay 100% for that.
Right.
So we do have to get leverage from the community to assist us in redevelopment.
So you do have like donors such as like businesses and corporations and that sort of thing.
And a lot of it is just leverage. So instead of like, we'll say Lee Health wants to build a facility. So we will tell HUD that Lee Health will build this facility worth X amount of dollars, and we're able to make that happen. But the majority of our funding, and almost all of it, comes directly from Washington, D.C., from Housing and Urban Development. So we have government contracts.
Right. So that's one of the things when I work, because I specialize in startup nonprofits and the stagnant nonprofits, and we're starting a program within our company to branch out to medium-sized and larger nonprofits for their planned giving program and open endowments so that donors can keep them in their estate plans. So I say that to say that it's important to diversify your funds, especially when you're a startup nonprofit, to think of running your nonprofit like a business and have a social enterprise. So what I mean by that is having a program and or service that you, like a fee for service that you could charge, such as the first thing we can think of is Goodwill. They have their thrift store. That's a social enterprise. Another thing is if you can get a government contract, that's another source of funding that would be really great for your nonprofit as you continue to build on applying for other grants as well as donors. And then a lot of nonprofits have events. Do you guys have events?
We do.
What events do you have?
So we do all kinds of things. So one that we have coming up, we have what's called the Empowerment Series.
Okay.
So we actually partner with Suncoast Credit Union and other agencies to provide an 8-week workshop that focuses on exactly that, empowerment. So we go over financial literacy, but we also go over like interviewing skills. We go over self-care and mental health, and really try to saturate and have a really good workshop that will have clients coming out feeling empowered, being ready to take on whatever's next. Yeah,
that's really important because I know for me, I was not aware growing up of a lot of the programs that were available. So I sort of kind of learned everything the hard way. I was the lucky one. I was the only one, still the only one in my family who has a college education. And I remember one time in my first job interview, I didn't know that you were supposed to research the company. I didn't know how to dress, so I looked like I was going to a club. But I was hurt, but I was gracious that the lady who was interviewing me, she set me aside. She said, "I'm not going to hire you, and I'm going to tell you why." She said, "Number one, you know nothing about this job." She said, "The way you're dressed, you look like you're going to the club." I had on some spike heels and a short skirt. I thought I was, but I didn't know. I didn't have any examples around me or my neighborhood of people who were professionals. And although I was hurt, I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. So I went to the library. I'm telling my age. Went to the library and researched.
I go to the library.
You still go to the library?
Yeah, I go to the library.
Okay. I don't feel so bad. But now you have Google, right? You can research everything on Google. But I went to the library and I looked up like professional attire, and then I got it. I learned, and then I actually critiqued myself over the years, and it just really changed my life. So I'm really gracious for programs like yours that really empower people, because that's really important to see other people where you want to be or where you aspire to be, knowing that there's programs and resources that doesn't cost anything that will help you. But again, like I said earlier, it's a mindset shift, and you have to want it. If you want it, then you could definitely achieve that. So before we started recording the podcast, we also mentioned, we talked about partnerships and collaborations. tell me about the types of organizations that you partner with and other organizations that you welcome to partner with to help fulfill your mission.
So we have quite a few, and I hope I can, you don't
have to name all of them. It's not a quiz.
So one, funny enough, is the library. So we partner with the library because they have so many resources available, both online and at their locations for people to utilize. For instance, you can take certificate classes through the library that are paid at no cost to you.
Wow,
such as you can take a personal finance course, you can take a Microsoft Excel course, you can take a CNA prep course, a GED prep course, you can take a career aptitude test. All of these things to provide things not only to put on your resume, but figure out what you might be interested in.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of clients, they have goals for gainful employment, but it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? We want to do more than just get you a job. We want to get you something you enjoy, something that you're excited to do, and provides upward mobility to move to that next step.
Right. And I often question that, especially during the pandemic, and then during the hurricane. So let's go back to the pandemic when everything was shut down. And our gig workers and service industry, they couldn't work, like the waitresses and such. And I wonder, I'm like, well, how does someone waitress, and I understand you probably enjoy it for 10, 15 years, and then, something like this happens. It's like, how do we not think to retool ourselves?
Right.
And another thing that's really going to make an impact is AI, artificial intelligence, as well as robots, because we're already checking ourselves out at the grocery store. So the cashier jobs are going away. Already with the banking, press 1, all these little different prompts. It's hard to get a human on the phone. Some of the banks don't even have tellers. So are we making our workforce today aware of the technology that are going to take away a significant amount of jobs, to retool them to work on these robots and all of these things that are coming forth in the near future?
Right. I think on a large scale level, we're not. But I do think that agencies are doing that as they try to encourage, post-high school certificates. So for instance, I know Future Makers, that's like their deal. They're like, we want everyone to have a post-high school certificate, whether it's a 2-year program or degree, because most of those jobs that are going to go away, they're going to require those things just to get in the door. So there are entities doing that, but on a large scale level, I don't think we are. And I think it's going to be very difficult within the next few years.
Are we talking about this when we're doing these job fairs and these empowerment things? Because I don't know if we're not awake or we're ignoring it and we don't want to face the elephant in the room, but I don't know if enough people are talking about it.
Right. I would agree. I think we definitely do need to push that discussion, and we need to promote different fields of work other than, just service and things like that. We need to really broaden the horizons with what is out there.
Okay. So with that said, if someone wanted to reach Joshua to join your organization, to donate $1 million to your organization, I know you would love that. How would they reach you? If you could please share your name, your telephone number, your email address, and it'll appear on the screen.
Absolutely. So you can reach me through my email. My email is my first name, Joshua, Joshua, at HACFM for Housing Authority City Fort Myers.org. And then also my telephone number, you can call my office. It's 239-332-3825. We are located in the Renaissance Preserve on the corner of Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard and Michigan Avenue, right by FMTC.
Okay, FMTC.
Yes, I know the name has changed. I'm not from here, but I always hear different names. But Fort Myers Technical Institute. No
Thank
acronyms.
You. See,
sorry,
I thought you would catch on. Yeah, no acronyms.
Sorry. It's like we have to say so much in such a short period of time and try to be quick, So yeah, all right. That's how you can reach me.
Well, thank you so much for coming to the Grow Your Nonprofit podcast and sharing your knowledge and what impact you're making in the community, Joshua.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So guys, you heard it here first. Another amazing quasi-nonprofit. We did something a little different today. Quasi-nonprofit organization in the community that's making an impact, changing lives for the better. And I hope you reach out to Joshua or visit the website for more information about his program, whether it's for you or someone you know who could utilize the services so that they could empower themselves and change their lives. So thank you for watching the Grow Your Nonprofit podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for more Grow Your Nonprofit podcast episodes.